Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today I'm talking to the guy that made Origami Flight. And, well, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yes, my name is Sydney Mello. I am the developer from Origami Flight. I'm Brazilian. I am 26 years old. I'm not a native English speaker, so I may be mispronouncing things, but I hope you all understand me.
You will be understood. Your English is fine. And I'm not native English as well. In a nutshell, what kind of game are we talking about?
Well, Origami Flight is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game with origami in crayon style.
In crayon style. Can you explain that?
Well, the main idea behind the aesthetics of the game is that we have a kid playing. So everything in the game are made of crayon and paper. So everything that this kid could have access to. So we have all the objects in the scene, like the player, the enemies, the shots, and some elements in the scenario made of paper, like origami, so folded paper, or drawings in paper sheets. And the background, it's a chalkboard, and then this kid draws the scenario, the background scenario, using crayon. So this is the main idea behind the aesthetics of the game.
And why did you choose to make a game like this?
Well, actually, the idea came from our art director, Joseph Bruno. He is a manga artist, so he's very fond of Japanese culture. So it kind of comes with the story of the game from the game development itself. So when I started learning about game development, programming, coding, etc., we were working together. Then he had this idea of making a shoot-'em-up game. So shoot-'em-up games, they are mostly in space, in air. Like we have spaceships, we have airplanes, etc. So why don't we use paper planes? So something that everybody does, like when a kid, you get a sheet of paper, fold it, and throw your paper airplane across your classroom and stuff. So he thought, well, maybe we should use this. We should use paper airplanes. And then he came to the conclusion that it would be best to use origami. Not only paper airplanes, but really use this millennial art of folding paper. And to finish this setting, he thought of tell this dream, this story of a kid playing with origami. So if we have a kid playing with origami, we could build all the visuals of the game based on things that kids play with. So that came the chalkboard, the crayon, the drawings, and that's mostly it.
Okay, well that's kind of interesting, the way you thought of this art style. Is this also based on Japanese stuff, or is it just, around that?
Well, it's mostly just around it, but there is some creatures from Japanese folklore that we inserted. We put them into the game as features, and as like characters. Of course, we have some little references to pop culture, but not spoiling the game. But we have at some point, for example, Fox, which is in Japanese folklore and in like anime. We have the fox as an evil spirit, like the Kyuubi from Naruto. So we have two foxes in this kind of position in the game. We have for example, there is a legend about the Tsuru, which is the crane origami, which says that if someone folds 1,000 cranes, you get a wish. So it's also this specific legend. It's hardly coded in the game. It's tied up with the score system, for example. And yeah, it has some aspects that come from Japanese culture.
Okay. Did the game become what you originally planned it to become before you started the development?
Well, actually, I think it's related to another question. Origami Flight is our first game, our first indie game, not a non-commercial game. Like, it's not a client came and say, "Oh, we need a game," so we did a game. No, Origami Flight is our first attempt to be indie game developers. So, as I said, the idea for Origami Flight came when I was learning about game development. So at the start, it was just a prototype of a game. Like, oh well, I think I'll start with a shmup because I'm learning about collision, coding events and stuff. So I think a shmup covers the basics pretty well, no? Mm-hmm. So we were not very ambitious about it. We wanted to replicate some classical mechanics, some arcade mechanics in this game as a study, as studying game development. So it's kind of hard to answer that to say precisely how we imagine the game at the first moment, because it was something very experimental and very experimental for us, and very related to our own education.
But after that, it became more serious.
Yep. Well, actually, I can tell you a very long and maybe sad story about the development of this game. Because, we were not professionals, we were learning. And here in Brazil, we don't have... mostly here in Brazil, we don't have a propitious scenario for game development. I come from North Brazil, which is very far away from the cities, from the regions where we have a strong game development scenario. So it took a long time to get the game where it is. And during this long journey, inexperience has taken its toll.
Well, I hope that it will be worth it when the game is finished.
We all hope.
For what platforms do you intend to release this game?
We intend to release this game on March 18th next year. That's it.
The question was, for what platforms will it come out? Will it come out for just PC or also for Switch or anything?
Well, at just PC right now, for Windows, Mac, Linux. I don't have any contact, or I actually hadn't even tried to get in contact with publishers and stuff so that we can release the game in other platforms. Mostly because I'm a hobbyist game developer right now, so I don't have that much time to advance in other platforms. Right now, I am mostly the only person working on this game, so I can say to you that if I'm talking to you right now, it means that the game is almost finished. It only needs some bug corrections and some playtests so that it gets perfect without bugs or errors and this kind of thing. Because I'm also the only person that is trying to, make people know that the game exists. Because, yeah, it took a long time, but it will not be worthwhile to release the game if nobody knows the game exists.
What do you think is your best attitude in your normal life?
To be honest.
That's a good attitude.
And maybe I was a little bit stubborn. I don't like to think that way. I prefer saying that I never gave up on the game. This game has been the first idea of the game, that story from my friend and art director. It happened on 2010, so it's 8 years.
That's a long time.
A long time for a shmup game. So a lot of things happened in these 8 years, but I never gave up. Everybody had a lot of problems. As I have said, we never had any support to develop games. We had some years where we really were trying to be game developers and work on advertising games, this kind of stuff, educational games for clients, which drain our energy. But yeah, I think the thing I'm most proud of regardless of whether the game will be a success or people will dislike it or whatever. I never gave up on finishing this game after all these years and after all the problems that we face in our personal lives and our professional lives.
What kind of problems did you run into?
Well, in my case, was the challenge of trying to be a game developer at the same time. I was, as I was a university student, no, the game development here, not here in Brazil, but in North Brazil, we didn't have in that time, we didn't have like any game education, school courses, etc., etc. We had all to figure everything by ourselves, and we were mostly computer science students and design students that were trying to do something new where we were. And it took most of our energy and time during the game development. So we had like the whole week of class and exams and having to study for computer science stuff, and we had only weekends for only a weekend or another to work on the game. I had the privilege to not need to work because my parents were very supportive, but other members of the team were not so lucky, so they had to work on weekends. So it was very hard, for example, for us to be in the same room at the same time to work on the game. Of course, we had also problems with management in general, to have also people working on the project that were not so focused on working on the project, which back in time, if I could change something, maybe we should have been a little more rigid and say, no, you are only delaying us because you say you will do things and you don't, so you are being like or postponing everything or delaying the rest of the development. It would be better if we look for something else, someone else to work with this and that. So that's where I say that the inexperience in both game development and in managing people working on the game took its toll.
I understand. Will this all be different for future games you will make?
Yes, certainly. I'm at the time I really wanted to be a game developer, indie game developer, etc. But the way things happened, I see that. I mean, I am still in the academic world. I'm a master degree student. I'll start my doctorate. I think it's doctorate in English. I don't know. They're like PhD studies next year. So for me, I know that I will always be developing something. I will always be working on a game, on a project, because it's something that I need to do, because I have a creative urge So I always need to be creating something. So yes, I know where I am, what I want to do, and I'm pretty sure that I am a bit more experienced in how to. Even though I'm pretty sure that I won't be able to work on a game 20 hours per week, for example, but I'm pretty sure that I will be able to manage my time and manage expectations about people that want to contribute to a project. The scenario here in Brazil, it's pretty different from 8 years ago. So it's easier to find people that are committed to, that want to really develop a game and start a portfolio for the future, for working as professionals. I have also during these 8 years made a lot of contacts inside the game development scene, this ever-growing game development scene here in Brazil. So yes, I'm pretty sure that my next project won't take 8 years.
That is nice.
That's really nice. I'm pretty sure that they won't take that long, and they will be better planned. Indeed, better planned.
All that will help you to release more games within 8 years.
Yeah, indeed.
What do you think is the most interesting part of this game?
I think the major, the biggest success in this game, it's the art, it's the visuals, it's the aesthetic, is that lightweight visuals, the aesthetics. We had we won a prize for the game visuals in 2015 in the SB Games. It's the Brazilian Symposium of Electronic Games and Digital Entertainment. It's one of the biggest prizes for game development here in Brazil. So that was something that really pointed out to us that we made something interesting and beautiful and nice in the game aesthetics. Another thing that I really love about the game, it's the music. I also love how simple the game is. You know, maybe some people might not like it, but we always, as we were developing, we always choose to make it simple. You know, to not have a lot of I don't know the word in English. Confusing mechanics. So when you play it, you will see that all you need is it's to move and to shoot and maybe charge a shoot. Our influences were classic games. So although some may say that the game is not innovative in mechanics, I think the simplicity of it, the way it's lightweighted when played, something very nice. And it has some fun moments too.
Well, it's a video game. If it were boring, it would have been a waste of time to make it. But it is really cool that you won an award for this.
No, it's not fun. It's funny. I got lost in translation because it's funny. Some funny moments, some moments that people may laugh a lot.
Okay. What game engine are you using, and why did you decide to work with this engine?
Well, we are working with Unity, but the decision to work with Unity, it's kind of it has a background story, which it's one of the problems that we face along these 8 years. It took 8 years because the game itself, the system behind the game was developed 3 times due to engine changes. So the first version of the game, which was my prototype as I was learning, was in C++. I was a computer science student, so it was in C++ with some graphical libraries. And then we became a team. Actually, me and Joseph Bruno, we joined a team from our university that was already working with game development, doing games for advertisement, educational purposes, this kind of stuff. They were also really developing a game, but they gave up on this game, and they liked our concept of Origami Flight, and then that became the Origami Flight became the main project of this team. In this moment, this team used another own engine, also based on C++, and several libraries for graphics and physics and stuff. So it was like Frankenstein of libraries in C++ code, because we were computer science students. So we have to do everything by ourselves because we are computer science students. But it came a time when we were so overwhelmed because there was a lot of things to put to work together in this engine, and it was not very well made, I guess, because so we had to change to Unity because Unity was on the rise at the time. Someone had worked with Unity and found it cool, so maybe we should change to Unity because it has scripting language. It won't take hours to compile the game, so we went to Unity. But in that time, Unity had no native 2D stuff. It was Unity 3D at the time. So we had to use a plugin for sprites and 2D stuff. And then some years after, that was I don't remember the year, but it's closer. It's closer to now. I think it was 2015, 14, maybe. Unity released this native 2D stuff, and then we had to change all the code that was using another plugin, a buggy plugin, I should say. That there was a lot of problems with this plugin. Our director, the guy responsible for the whole thing, which was the boss, he asked for the source code of this plugin in order to solve things, because the plugin was already old and outdated, and the developers of this plugin were not working on it anymore. So he had to contact them and say, please give me the source code because the world is on fire here, etc., etc., etc. they have shared the source code. We have managed to do some things. I mean, there was a lot of work in this version with this plugin, and then Unity released this 2D native 2D, and we have to change it all to the new Unity 2D stuff. So a lot of rework on the working systems of the underlying systems of the world of the game, like score and animations. The Unity has a system of gaming objects, so we had to almost remake all the prefabs, all the gaming objects, to change it from the old 2D plugin to the native Unity 2D. So it was a lot of rework.
But it did turn out well.
Yeah, but now it's fine. Now it's 9. Because Unity has, well, the 2D native, it has an HUD which works well, so thank God we don't have to change engine again.
Yeah, that's better, because otherwise you would be working on it for 8 more years.
Exactly.
And you don't want that. If you can advise a new indie game developer, what will you tell him?
I would tell that if I could tell myself in the past, I would tell him to being honest, it will be a little bit contradictory what I'll say right now, even though I'm glad that I didn't give up on the game.
So people should just be honest with themselves and not give up on their game.
Yep. because it is hard when you don't have support to do what you want to do. But you should accept this kind of limitations, because I am glad that I never gave up, but it kind of killed the dream for me, the dream of being a game developer. So you need to be aware of where this stubbornness may lead you, because you can get really unmotivated and sad and maybe a little bit depressed because things are not going the way you wanted it to go. So should be honest with these limitations. You should be honest with what you want to do and where you want to go. And maybe that goes from people to people. Maybe you should not get so attached to one project or another if it comes to not be beneficial to you. There were times where the way that things were happening, like people are not so committed to the project as I am, made me really sad and really angry, and that kind of had effects on other sides of my life.
That is a common problem on indie game developers.
Yeah, I guess it is. So, to be honest, with this kind of problems, with these limitations, with your expectations, it's the best thing you can do because, I mean, I will be developing games, like always. If not games, I'll have another creative projects, because I think that's something that game developers all have, even though it doesn't matter if you are artist or a programmer, you have creativity inside of you that you must expose. You must to create things. The urge to create things. It's something that I see in all the developers that I know. So you have to nurture this and not let the creation itself kill it. The process, the problems of the process, kill it, diminish it. And it takes, for me, it took honesty. I had to, when the game development was, the Origami Flight's development was completely stopped, completely going nowhere. I was very angry, very sad. It took me time to sit down and say, so things are not as I thought it would be, but how can I do it without damaging me as a creator, as a programmer, as someone who needs to create.
And what do you feel is success for an indie game developer?
Well, I think success for an indie developer is to create and get recognition, but not not necessarily in a commercial way. Of course, everybody wants to have lots of money because the game is incredible, but that's how I see things. To know people that play the game and thought, oh, this is cool, this is beautiful, I think this is a nice metaphor, this is I get what he wanted to say with this scene, with this director. You know, this is the kind of thing for me that represents success. To have your work recognized not only in a financial way, money, etc., but to have the player feel whatever you wanted to pass on the game, whatever you want to express through the game.
Is there a AAA studio you would work for if you could?
Let me see. Well, maybe for Ubisoft.
Why Ubisoft?
Because my guilty pleasure is the Assassin's Creed series, and I really don't want it to be a programmer, you know, because I think Brazil has a wonderful setting for an Assassin's Creed game, and I wanted to be writing about it.
You would want to be a writer of a story instead of programming the actual game.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be very, very fun to do, because I love the Assassin's Creed franchise. I almost always love any game that has these connections with history, with the real world. So it would be very nice to write about Brazilian story in the world of Assassin's Creed. I think that would be very fun for me.
I can imagine. Have you ever worked for gaming companies? Have you ever worked for gaming companies?
No. But I did work for some clients, but we were not a company yet. In fact, because that was very long time ago when we were in the beginning of the development of Origami Flight, and we took some works from clients, advert games and educational games, but we couldn't being formalized as a company. It was more like a freelance stuff.
What were your childhood interests? What were your childhood interests? What did you like to do as a child?
Okay. Well, I mostly like to play video games. I think it's something very common, a common answer.
Yep.
As a Brazilian kid, of course, I was very, very, very soccer. I think it's something that my whole generation had in common during childhood, which was playing soccer every day.
That's what your country is basically known for, mine. So.
Yeah, but this I think this newer generations don't have that same experience, because when I was a kid it was other time, golden ages, so it was easier for people to just play soccer in a park, or mostly in squares or the street. People kids on a not very for example a street where with no car movement, I don't know how to explain it, but a safe street where cars are not going in very often, so we played soccers in this kind of streets, all the kids from the neighborhood,
Yeah, it was kind of the same where I live, only we did different sports. We also played soccer, but also other sports. And all the kids in the neighborhood would just come together, play together, and when it was time for dinner, we would go home.
Yeah, but here in Brazil, it's it was soccer. It's always soccer. Always soccer. Only soccer.
Yeah, but that's what your country is known for. It's where people play soccer.
Yeah, indeed.
What do you think is the best video game of all time?
It's a JRPG from the PlayStation 1 called Legend of Mana.
Okay.
That's the best game, my favorite game, and it kinda tells a lot about the games I want to develop. It's beautiful. I love that art style with all my heart. It's simply beautiful. It's all hand drawn. It's all hand drawn, and it's beautiful. It's simply beautiful. I get hypnotized for that art style.
And what is your favorite video game of this year?
Of this year?
Of this year.
Well, as I said, my guilty pleasure is Assassin's Creed, so we have this Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a great game. In fact, even though not the previous, because Origins was nice, but yeah, Odyssey is a pretty good game. I really enjoyed the game.
Awesome. This was my final question. Do you have other stuff you want to say?
Well, so first, thank you for the interview.
You're welcome.
That's something really nice because I am a small hobbyist game developer from Maranhão, which is not so known or rich state in North Brazil. So for me, it's to be here to be interviewed internationally. It's something that it's really nice. Really, it make me happy. Make me very happy. Because that comes for my concept of success, to be recognized in some way.
Well, then you have achieved that.
Yeah, because you got the interest for the game. You did not play it, so the visuals, the aesthetic, the idea behind the game was something that came to your attention, and that maybe will get the attention of your viewers. We hope.
Well, I found your game on Steam and I was like, hey, this is not like something I see a lot, and then I emailed you.
I see that. That's yes, that's it. So really, I'm really happy for this interview. It also says that I'm in a right way, because I'm also the only person that is working to make the game be known for people, like doing the marketing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that much time to do that because of my other stuff, work, and etc. So thank you a lot. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. And yeah, Origami Flight is coming on March 18th, 2019. We hope you all get interested in the game. Go to our Steam page, click and add to wishlist so that you know when it's released, so that you'll receive notifications when it's released, so that you can try, play, and have a lot of fun with this crayon and origami style side-scrolling shoot 'em up game. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and thanks a lot.
You're very welcome, and the link to the Steam page will be in the description below.